Greetings folks, Iolair here. Today's replay represents something brand new for the channel. We're going to transition between the perspective of two opposing players in the same match. We begin our replay from the perspective of Wes the Handsome, who is sailing in the premium Tier 6 Pan-Asian light cruiser, the Huanghe. And on the opposing team is myself in the Tier 5 German light cruiser, the Königsberg. This is a Tier 6 domination match on straight. Each team has two Tier 6 aircraft carriers, as well as lots of cruisers and no destroyers. So Wes's build, this is actually the first match he had ever played in the Huanghe. I think he earned this through one of the Santa boxes during the holiday period. In fact, this match was played shortly after Christmas. And he is only a 3-point commander, but that's not going to deter him from having a very good match. This is definitely not my first match in the Königsberg, as you can probably tell, given the wide variety of commander skills I have on this ship. And like I said, we're starting our replay from Wes's perspective. Now, Wes, being in the Huanghe, this is the best concealed Tier 6 destroyer in the game. Its base detection before any benefits of concealment expert or camouflage are applied is 9.54 kilometers, and you can get that down to I think 8.3 with a full concealment build including camouflage. And so Wes in some ways is going to act as a destroyer, both with regard to very good concealment to be able to take the cap that's in front of him, as well as doing some spotting for his team. Now, he's gotten just within the detection of the Marblehead. He's dropped smoke. Now, the Huanghe has the rolling smoke mechanic available to the Perth and a number of the other Commonwealth vessels, the Haida and so on. And so he's going to creep forward here, and he gets a detonation on the Marblehead, claiming first blood for his team. But he's going to creep forward here towards the Alpha cap and look to take that cap as he's going to be able to stay in concealment, not only because of his smoke, but because the closest opponent to him, by the time he gets into the cap and his smoke expires, will still be outside his detection range. So again, keep in mind that the only concealment benefit he's receiving right now is from the camouflage. And he is obviously not using the premium camouflage here. He's looking to accelerate the commander skill points as much as possible. So he's running the New Year streamer camo for his ship instead of, like I said, instead of the premium camo. And then he is going to slip into the Alpha cap. Now, one of the other big benefits or capabilities of the Huanghe is that it has very good anti-air for its tier. In fact, before the carrier rework, it was sort of god tier. One of my colleagues, Jimmy Jazz, who likes sailing the Huanghe, I think he, in a double carrier match, shot down close to 60 aircraft with this ship. Now, AA is obviously not quite the same as it was prior to the rework and with all the adjustments that are made. But in this match, Wes is going to shoot down a very impressive number of planes for his team. And again, because he's the best concealed ship on his team, he is going to take the Alpha point. And he's, like I said, he's already gotten first blood for his team. So he's already done very well. Now, one limitation that Wes has in this build is that because he's working with the 3-point commander, he does not have IFHE. And this will prevent him from being able to penetrate anything but superstructures on these battleships. And that will have some impact in his efficacy during the battle, especially during the late part of the game, as we'll see. Now we're going to transition to my perspective in the Königsberg. Now, the Königsberg, I think many people know, is a very squishy cruiser. Well, I think most Tier 6 cruisers are very squishy, other than maybe the Graf Spee. But I tend to work from range. The Königsberg has very good range at 16.5 kilometers, has a very good rate of fire. In fact, I think it has the highest DPM of all Tier 5 cruisers in the game. And so my role is to basically kind of stay behind the lead of Lynn Wilkie, with whom I'm divisioned. Lynn is in the Giulia Cesare, and basically looking to provide AA support as well as supporting artillery fire to push off these opponents, and we've now successfully secured Charlie for our team. Now, one thing I didn't understand about what the Wes's team did here is that they basically had their entire south flank moved north up the east channel, which kind of prevented them from being able to contest us at Charlie. Now we switch back to Wes's perspective here because he's getting some shots in on an opposing, I think this is a Leander. In fact, the Leander started slowing a little bit too late to get into his smoke, and Wes's shot that's out in the air right now is going to land a Citadel and take out the Leander for Wes's second kill of the game. He's up to almost 36,000 in damage. Come back to my perspective in the Königsberg, and I've gotten another fire on, I think that's the Ismail, trying to get some of these low health battleships off the game. Both the Texas and the Ismail are quite low. And like I said, I'm also trying to provide supporting AA and artillery fire for Lynn, who's taken a pretty significant beating. You can see he's on fire in at least a couple of places. He's down to less than half health, so he's been doing a lot of tanking for our flank. As we, like I said, we did take Charlie. We are able, our Fuso, which is over in the Bravo cap, was able to finish off the Ismail, so that definitely helps in terms of getting some of the big firepower off the flank. And Lynn and I are going to elect to move up the East Channel. Now, normally I don't like doing this because it kind of takes you out of the way or out of the game a little bit. The problem is that if we move directly into Bravo, there's a risk that with the opposition that's in the East Channel, that they could immediately put us in a crossfire. So again, we've elected to try to push up the east side, at least for now, try to get the Texas down since he is quite low health. Hopefully get the Omaha off the flank as well, and then that will make it easier for us to establish better control at Bravo. We also know that the opposing carrier that was here, or Wes's carrier that was on the south flank, I expect at this point, I think he has moved north already. That's why we're not detecting him based on where he was originally. I do get another fire on the Texas, trying to get him, like I said, off the flank. We do detect the Ryujo on Wes's team that was spawned in the south side there. I do finish off the Texas. And he, in fact, did move north. A good call by Wes's carrier player there to get off the flank because he saw that his allies were moving away. So we transition back to Wes's perspective as he's continued to try to keep things defended here at Alpha. Huanghe with a small DPM, because it has only 6 rifles, is not a ship to sort of lead the charge, at least with regard to combat. And so he's got to have some of his battleships try to take some lead here in terms of pushing into Bravo, because my team has now established control over both Bravo and Charlie, and having gotten a number of Wes's allies off the east flank means that maintaining control in the center of the map is going to be a lot easier. Here we can see the West continues to shoot down more planes. He's up to 12 planes, 13, 14. So he's shooting down a lot of planes at this point. And as you can see here, as he's firing on this New Mexico, he does set another fire, but he's getting a lot of shatters. And again, this is a reflection partially of where his shots are landing in terms of not hitting the superstructure, but also with without having IFHE, anything that he lands on the bow or stern, which are 25 millimeter for these mid-tier battleships, he simply is not going to penetrate. And that's going to affect some of the damage that he can apply here. We've come back to my perspective as I've gotten into the East Channel. We can see our low health Furuutaka in front of us, and we do have this Montecuccoli that's putting some pressure on the Furuutaka. I'm going to stay behind this island for a little bit because there are 2 Montecuccolis that are come over to try to defend their east side. And the semi-armor piercing shells are no joke against cruisers, and so I really don't want to be heavily exposed to that kind of fire. We switch back over to Wes's perspective as he's working to finish off my team's Montecuccoli, and I think with that salvo he's going to finish. Yes, he finishes off the cruiser for his 3rd kill in the match. He's up to 40,000 damage. He's able to avoid some return fire coming from the New Mexico. So Wes has done a really excellent job so far, having secured a cap, taken 3 kills, and so he's doing everything in his power for his team to try to keep them in it. We've come back to my perspective as, again, I'm trying to help get these cruisers off our flank so I can push a little more further in and help support Lin with maintaining control over Bravo. You can see that the couple of ships that we had in Bravo did in fact get focused out, including the Fuso, and we don't want to lose that cap. So Lin is moving towards Bravo to try to defend against the New Mexico, Wes's New Mexico that's moving into the cap, so that we can try to, like I said, defend the cap. Come back to Wes's perspective, as this is going to be the point where he's going to see me, and he's actually going to put a few shots in on me. But you can see I'm using the island as some insulation again, trying to get the put pressure on the Montecucules on Wes's team, but at the same time not be exposed to too much fire. Wes does land a couple of shells on me, but I'm going to slip back behind the island because I need to help support Lin as he's trying to defend the Bravo cap. So things are going pretty well for my team, but it's still anybody's match at this point. The scores are quite close. Wes's team has a 1-ship advantage, and there you can see myself slipping towards Bravo to try to, like I said, help support Lin in his engagement against the New Mexico. We are going to switch here to my perspective as I'm putting fire on the New Mexico. I'm want to make sure that I can maintain fire here, but also not slip strictly into Bravo and then suddenly be exposed to fire from 6 other ships. The New Mexico is quite low health here. I have the benefit being in a German cruiser that gets the 1/4 pen on the HE, so I don't need to worry about IFHE. Lin is able to finish off the New Mexico, but the New Mexico finishes off Lin. Here comes the Wes's Omaha, and this is the time to pull out the German AP and get some nice Citadel hits here. There's one, and I think the next salvo I get 2 more. The Omaha is a very thinly armored cruiser. I think most people know. Has only 10mm plating on its bow and stern, which means that it can be overmatched and citadeled by light cruiser AP. So I pretty much always fire armor piercing at Omahas, regardless of the angle they present to me. Come back to Wes's perspective as my team's Bayern is now starting to push in toward Alpha. Wes has, like I said, done everything in his power to at least hold on to what his team has control over. The point spread has gotten broader because our team, or my team, has evened up the ship count. In fact, however, we have now taken a ship lead. So we're up 1 ship, or my team is up 1 ship. Wes is going to get 1 torpedo on the Bayern, and this is going to be, again, another place where we're going to see the IFHE is going to be an issue. Wes has just now earned AA Defense Expert, so again, a reflection of the very good AA of the Huanghe. We're going to switch briefly to my perspective as I've re-engaged one of the Montecucules who's come out broadside. There's 1 Citadel, and with this next salvo, I think I'm going to get a couple more and finish off that Montecucule. 2 more Citadels. So able to defend Bravo again, and we're going to switch back to Wes's perspective as he's in sort of the fight for his survival against the Bayern. And again, this is a reflection of where the IFHE, not having IFHE, is affecting him. He's not able to penetrate the bow of the Bayern, so he's got to fire into the superstructure. He is going to get another torpedo on the Bayern and finish the Bayern off for his 4th kill, but he's now on fire. His repair damage control is on cooldown. He's now the target of the New Mexico as well as the aircraft carrier, and he's burning, and so unfortunately we are going to lose Wes here. But definitely an impressive outing, and we'll take a look at the experience results here at the end of the match. We're going to finish up the match from my perspective as I'm headed north back towards Bravo, having defended the Bravo cap, and we're just facing the 2 opposing, or Wes's 2 aircraft carriers, excuse me. And my goal is not to necessarily try to take Alpha. but is basically to try to defend the Bravo cap in the event that one of Wes's carriers has decided to move closer and try to take a cap in an attempt to stay in a little more in the match. As it turns out that both carriers are actually going to be up on the alpha line, and so it's mainly going to be a shooting session against them. Now we have detected both of the carriers. So again, hats off to Wes's carrier players. They were very... they struck me as being very aware of the situation and kept their ships moving so that they would stay out of harm's way for as long as possible. But now that there are no other surface ships, these carriers are going to be obviously the sole targets of myself and the New Mexico, as well as our two carriers. Our ally New Mexico is going to get focused out by the carriers because he's quite low health. And then the carriers are going to start focusing me. In fact, you can see that our New Mexico is almost out of health, and there we just lost the New Mexico. So it's just our two carriers, myself against Wes's two carriers. Our team has a more than 300 point advantage, and here you can see the planes starting to come in. Now, the Königsberg does not have anywhere near the AA that the Huanghe has, so I'm mainly going to be just trying to dodge these shots. In fact, thanks to Lynn, he's going to sort of keep me apprised of where the planes are, so that will help me with some of the dodging here. He'll say, hey, you got some torpedo bombers coming in on your stern like this, and I'm going to avoid this drop as well. I think they do get a couple of, at least one torpedo on me at one point. They kind of cross-drop me, and I'm unable to avoid all the torpedoes at some point. But at this point, it does make sense for me to start engaging the carriers because they are putting pressure on me. I can't just sailing away isn't necessarily the right thing to do here. In fact, you can see in chat, Wes has finally realized that he's playing against, or his team is playing against me. And at that point, I realized, oops, I should have recognized that I was playing against Wes. One other comment here that I didn't make earlier is I think my regular viewers will know that Wes has been a regular contributor to the channel. And so a big hats off to Wes for being a good sport about this match and for sharing the replay, because this ends up being a very good match for him personally, even though his team is going to end up unfortunately losing here. And in fact, with the point spread remaining, once we sink this carrier, the game is going to be over. A couple more AP salvos out. I don't remember if I sink him with that salvo. It may be the next one. But you can see I continue to be trying to dodge airplanes and shoot at the same time. It's a little challenging. But with this salvo, I am going to finish off the Rujo, and we're going to win the battle. So, great match. Take a look at this XP result. So, if Wes's team had won, Wes would have earned just shy of 2,200 base XP. So, in terms of XP earned, we both are very similar in terms of our results. Wes shot down a whopping 50 aircraft in this match. So, very, very impressive outing, especially since this was his first battle in the ship. Representation of Wes's skill as a cruiser main. So very well done, Wes. Thank you very much for sharing this with me and agreeing to doing this video. So it was a very good juxtaposition of our perspectives. I hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.